Welcome back, everyone. Now that we have seen how break statement behaves inside loops, we saw an example of a do-while loop in our previous recording, but all the loops uh, actually accept break statement the way it is, and break statement will break any loop there is. It doesn't matter, it will behave the same way. So it is time to see cases where we have multiple loops nested, and we have break statement inside one or the other. To see that, let's create a new class under our package called section 4 underscore 4, and we're going to call it breaking inner. You can call it breaking bad if you want to, but breaking inner is going to be our class name. Declare your main methods, open up some space, and if you recall in one of our previous recordings, we talked about creating a square consisting of stars, and that was our demonstration of nested loops. So let's recreate that. So we said we have inner loop. It's going to be our columns. 4 columns is equal to starting from 1, and as long as columns value is less than or equal to 5, let's update our columns by incrementing it by 1, and every time we loop here, we're going to print on a single line a single star surrounded by spaces, right? Then let's actually run this test, see if we're on the right track. Yes, we are. Then we created another loop, another for loop. It doesn't matter what kind of a loop you do, but we said if you know the number of iterations, then it's better to create a for loop. So the same exact structure, because we're looking at the square structure. So rows again start from 1, are less than or equal, as long as they're less than or equal to 5. We're going to update our rows by incrementing it by 1. And now when we open our curly braces, we're going to close them outside our for loop. And then we're going to select everything inside these curly braces of the outer for loop and hit tab so that we indent them accordingly and our code looks clean. Now we tested the first time we did it, we created a code that is runnable and testable. Now we added something else. Let's rerun the code and see if everything works. And we find out that there is a small defect. The defect is we forgot to add a new line every time this inner loop finishes execution. So we added the new line. Now we have square consisting of stars. All right. Now, how can we use break statement to demonstrate its behavior inside the inner loops? Let's actually go inside our inner loop. Before printing out our star, let's add a fun logic. This is for practice, right? This is an experimentation. We're going to add a fun logic. We're going to say if rows is less than columns, break. Right? So we're saying that if you are running, for example, column 1 and your first iteration of row 1, you're okay. This break statement is not gonna get executed because 1 is not less than 1. However, when you're on the row 1, if you're running for the second column, you're not gonna print it, you're gonna break it. Let's see what happens. Great. Now let's take a time and analyze what just happened. And I'm gonna create conditions, like I'm going to create comment statements here. Now, these are types of questions that you might get in examinations and certifications and all that, and similar exams. Okay. Now, in that case, what you do is you try to understand what happens in every iteration by adding some comments next to the code. Because usually during these examinations, you get a piece of paper where you can write your thought process. All right, now, let's see what happens. Excuse me, iteration 1, right? The value of rows is 1. Rows is equal to 1. Actually, let's do this. R1, right? Actually, I1, rows 1. Great. Now, coming in here, iteration 1, column 1, right? Now, coming here, is 1 less than 1. Is column value 1 less than column value, row value 1? No, it is not. So it is executed. So we say I1 star. Great. Next, iteration 2. And we're just going to say it like this. Iteration 2. Oh, I'm sorry. We said before we go to the iteration 2 in the outer loop, we have to continue iterating for the inner loop, right? Iteration 2 inside the inner loop, and we have column value equal to 2. Now, question is the column value that is 2 greater than row value that is still 1? Or let's put the question another way. Is the rows that is at iteration 1 with the row value 1 less than column that is at iteration 2 with the value 2? Answer is yes. So if this is, since this is true, we're going to break this loop, and we're not going to create another, we're not going to print out another star. So this loop is broken. We go back to the outer loop now. And here, right now, we are in iteration 2. Row value is 2. Here, we are in the inner loop, and we are having iteration 2 for the row value 2, and our column value is 1. Now, the question is, row value, that is 2, is it less than 1? The answer is no. That's why we don't run it, and we print out our star. So we come here and we say iteration 2, we printed out a star. Next iteration for the inner loop. It's going to be iteration 2, column value is going to be equal to 2. Is row value, that is 2, less than column value, that is 2? No, 2 is not less than 2. Great, so we print out another star, right? Next, iteration, in the second iteration of this is actually first iteration of the second outer iteration, right? So iteration 3 of the inner loop, our column value is 3. Question is, our row value is still 2. Is 2 less than column value that is already 3? The answer is yes. Since that is yes, we execute this break statement, and we break out of, without printing, we break out of the inner loop. We go back to outer loop to our iteration number 3. So this continues on. Row value is number 3, and now we are in iteration 3 of the outer loop, but iteration 1 of the inner loop, column value is 1. Is 3 less than 1? The answer is no. So in the third iteration, we print out star. Next, we look at the second inner iteration. Column is 2. Is 3 less than 2? No, we print out another star. We go to the third iteration, and column value 3. Is 3 less than 3? No, we print out another star. We go to fourth iteration inside the inner loop. Iteration 4, column value is 4. Is 3 less than 4? Yes, it is. We break the loop, the inner loop. We go to iteration 4, etc., etc., and you see where this is going. This is how we get this example. So this was just a demonstration of what happens when you use break statement inside an inner loop. If the break statement was outside part of the outer loop, let's say I finish executing my inner loop, I print out something, and let's say I say here that if rows is equal to 1, break, then actually let's do this for the fun. Let's break it at row number 3. If I have this, let's see what happens now. In that case, we only gonna execute 3 iterations, because when the rows becomes 3 after the inner loop is broken and is completely executed, when we execute this break statement from the outer loop, it breaks the outer loop, and we're out of the whole loop process. And just to see that the program is still running, main terminating. Rerun the program. You can see that, yes, I mean, we need to add another print empty line, because this print is not adding a new line. That's why we see it here. So this was just a basic demonstration of what happens if the break statement is inside an inner loop, inside a nested loop, right? So it's the break statement, remember, is always going to break the loop that it is a part of. In the next video of ours, we will share with you additional features that Java provides for us to be even better in manipulating and controlling the flow of loops, because sometimes things can get out of our hands, and we will see how we can control them better. Thank you for your time. I will see you then.